This woman has raised more than 100 children, yet not a single one of them has ever lived past the age of 12. But the children in the orphanage will never know their fate, because every single one of them is adopted before turning 12. In truth, what they call adoption means being sent to the dinner table as high-end food, and with each new batch of orphans, they fall in love all over again with their gentle mama, Isabella. Here, they are nothing more than livestock waiting to be slaughtered. This place is the most professional premium farm, and the children with higher intelligence quotients are raised as the finest delicacies, because the so-called elites prefer to feast on their brains. Today is the day Connie is being adopted, which means it is the day she will die. Isabella acts heartbroken, as if the one about to leave is the child she cherishes most. Then, with a warm smile, Isabella leads the girl toward her end. At that very moment, inside the orphanage, Emma and Norman realize that Connie's favorite stuffed toy has been left behind, so they head toward the front gate, a place they are usually forbidden to approach, even if it means being scolded by the mother they adore. They want to return the toy to Connie's hands, but when they arrive, there is only a chilling truck parked there. A cold shiver runs down their spines. They barely dare to breathe, because inside the cargo compartment lies Connie's corpse. Just then, they hear voices nearby. Terrified, they immediately hide beneath the truck. Two demons stand there. They place Connie's body into a container. One of the demons complains, "Why should only the elites get to enjoy such exquisite food?" From their conversation, Emma and Norman learn the entire truth. This is a world ruled by demons, and human children's brains are their favorite delicacy. The one responsible for supplying food to the demons is none other than the mama they love so dearly. At that moment, one of the demons catches the scent of humans. He immediately looks beneath the truck. Fortunately, Emma and Norman have already escaped, but then they suddenly realize that the stuffed bunny was left under the truck, and the toy just so happens to be picked up by Isabella. Thankfully, Isabella doesn't know who uncovered the secret. Back at the orphanage, Emma and Norman are in complete panic. If Isabella figures out that the toy belonged to them, their deaths would be certain. So every day, they pretend to love Mama just as they always have. At the same time, they begin planning their escape from the orphanage. Norman and Emma use their free time to survey the surroundings. They discover that the entire farm is surrounded by towering walls, but for children who have trained physically since they were little, climbing the walls is not impossible. Soon, however, they uncover something even more shocking. A young girl gets lost in the forest. In front of everyone, Isabella calmly takes out a tracking device. Before long, she finds the missing girl in the woods. At that moment, Norman realizes that all of them have tracking devices implanted in their bodies. That night, Isabella approaches Emma. She has noticed that Emma has been acting differently lately. Thankfully, Emma thinks fast. She wraps her arms around Isabella's neck and begins acting spoiled. This successfully eases Isabella's suspicion, but the moment Isabella walks away, Emma collapses to her knees, her body trembling. Norman forces himself to stay calm as he tries to help her up, yet his shaking hands betray his fear. They know that the two of them alone cannot possibly escape, so they take a risk and tell the truth to Ray, who also possesses exceptional intelligence. The three of them have always ranked in the top 3 on every intelligence test. After hearing everything, Ray surprisingly believes them. The three immediately begin preparing their escape plan, but kind-hearted Emma insists on bringing every single one of the children with them. Ray is stunned. That's completely unrealistic, and he can't understand why the normally rational Norman would agree with her. But Norman simply says it's because he likes Emma. In the end, Ray reluctantly agrees. They immediately begin taking action. The first thing they must do is locate the tracking devices inside their bodies, but they have no idea where exactly the devices are implanted, so they examine a newborn baby to check for any visible scars. Soon, they discover the tracking device behind the baby's ear, but destroying it recklessly would surely trigger an alarm. Next, Ray begins searching for a safe way to disable the trackers. Meanwhile, Norman and Emma lead the other children in intense games of tag and hide-and-seek. They hope to strengthen everyone's physical abilities for the escape to come. They thought their plan was flawless, but Isabella had already known everything they were doing. Norman suspected that one of the children must be Isabella's informant, but those kids didn't know the truth, so he concluded that the traitor had to be Ray. Ray didn't deny it. He openly admitted that he was Isabella's spy. In fact, it was he who had guided Norman and Emma to the gate that day to uncover the truth. Ray's memory was far beyond normal. He could clearly remember everything from the moment he was born. He remembered every conversation between the demons and Isabella from when he was still an infant, so in order to escape before turning 12, Ray had been gathering clues and searching for allies all along, and finally, this year, he found Norman and Emma, who were just as intelligent as he was. During all that time, as Isabella's informant, he only fed her useless information. After laying everything out in the open, the three of them immediately began to act. They slowly started revealing the truth to children they believed they could trust. They planned that before the next shipment, everyone had to be ready to escape. Today, they would scout the most dangerous area of the wall. The original plan was for Ray to distract Isabella, while Norman and Emma carried out the mission, but at that moment, a strange smile spread across Isabella's face. She looked down at Ray as if he were prey. She calmly announced that their cooperation was over. Their entire plan had been exposed. After saying that, Isabella locked the door and walked toward the wall. She approached Norman and Emma without the slightest hurry, realizing everything had failed. The two decided to make a desperate move. Emma lunged forward and tightly held Isabella, buying time for Norman to run, but Isabella coldly snapped Emma's leg. A woman capable of managing this orphanage naturally possessed a killer's skill. The sheer terror froze Norman in place, and that terrifying mother even gently comforted Emma as she held her in her arms. Norman snapped out of it and began scaling the wall at full speed, but the moment he reached the top, despair consumed him. Beyond the wall was a massive cliff, a bottomless abyss. That was why this entire orphanage only needed a single caretaker. In the end, the three of them returned to the orphanage. They received no punishment at all, because as premium products designated by the elites, they had to remain flawless at the time of shipment. Originally, Emma had been the next to be shipped, but due to her broken leg, the replacement became Norman. When Norman learned that his time was up, he hugged his friends one last time. He told them what lay beyond the wall. He had already prepared himself to be sacrificed. If it was for the person he loved, then even a short life would have meaning. But at the moment Norman was taken away, Emma suddenly rushed forward. She tried to slip the device that could disable the tracker into his hand, but Norman pushed her away. He had made his decision. He would sacrifice himself. He didn't want his escape to cause security to tighten even further. Soon after, Norman was taken to the designated room and became a delicacy for the demons. After losing Norman, everyone fell into despair, but Emma refused to give up. She wanted to discuss the next step with Ray. Yet Ray told her he was tired. He didn't want to run anymore. Norman's death cast a shadow over them all, and the cliff beyond the wall felt like an insurmountable barrier. Before long, the orphanage seemed to return to its usual calm. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. The next shipment day was approaching, and this time, it was Ray's turn. But on the night before he was to be taken, Emma came to him. Neither of them had actually given up. Everything they had done before was to make Isabella lower her guard. During that time, Emma had secretly told every single child the horrifying truth about the orphanage. Now, everything was ready. Emma planned to lead them all to freedom, but Ray's plan was even more extreme. Over the past 6 years, he had secretly collected an entire box of oil. He intended to set the orphanage on fire that night. While Isabella was distracted putting out the flames, everyone would rush out and escape, but Emma rejected the idea. Isabella could simply abandon the building and hunt them down. After all, the most valuable assets were the children themselves. Then Ray suddenly burst into manic laughter. He poured the oil all over his own body. From the very beginning, his real plan had been suicide. The cold and rational Ray was deeply pessimistic inside. He believed the outside world must also be crawling with demons. He refused to become food. He said goodbye to Emma, and then he lit the gasoline. By the time Isabella arrived, Ray was already engulfed in flames. Isabella panicked. After all, he was one of the elite's prized delicacies. In the chaos, Isabella immediately ordered all the children to evacuate outside. She would go save Ray herself, but when she turned around, Emma was gone. Isabella quickly activated the tracking device. To her shock, every child's signal had disappeared. Only one location remained. She walked toward it in disbelief, and found Emma's left ear lying on the ground. Meanwhile, Emma was leading all the children in a frantic escape. Using the tracker disabling device Ray had invented, they had successfully erased everyone's signals and hidden themselves. They had already reached their designated meeting point, and Ray, who had supposedly burned to death, was there too. Just minutes earlier, the moment Ray lit the flame, Emma had extinguished it. After that, Their friends used ham and slices of meat to create the smell of burned flesh. That was how they managed to deceive even the sharp-minded Isabella. As Isabella stared at the raging fire, a manic expression crossed her face. Just then, a small child tugged at her skirt. Emma hadn't taken everyone. She had chosen to leave behind the children under 4 years old. She didn't know what dangers lurked in the outside world, and children under 6 would not be shipped out from the orphanage. So Emma decided she would first confirm whether the outside world was safe, and then come back for them. Isabella sounded the alarm. Demon guards rushed in from all directions. At the same time, the children finally climbed to the top of the wall. For the past 2 months, they had trained countless times. Ropes made from knotted bedsheets and tablecloths became their path to freedom. When the rope was firmly secured to a giant tree across the cliff, the children used tools as makeshift zip lines and successfully crossed the abyss. One by one, they made it across, until at last, only Emma remained. That was when Isabella arrived. Emma looked at her and softly said goodbye. Isabella's eyes trembled slightly, as if she had finally reached an understanding. She removed her ribbon. Painful memories rose to the surface. Once upon a time, Isabella had also been a child in this orphanage. She had friendships. She had even known love. The boy she cherished used to play songs for her. But not long after, Isabella discovered the secret of the orphanage. And what crushed her completely was learning that the boy had been selected as food for the demons. That day, she ran to the top of the wall in madness, desperate to escape. But in the end, her own mama stopped her. From that moment on, in this cruel world, survival became Isabella's only belief. She began pleasing mama, determined to become the next one in her place. Later, she defeated everyone in a critical test and survived. Those she outperformed were all shipped away as demon food. The final requirement to become a mama was to bear a child. After giving birth, she officially became the caretaker of the orphanage. But one day, while making her rounds through the farm, she heard a familiar song, the very song that boy once sang to her. When she followed the sound, she found Ray singing it. It turned out that Ray was the baby she had given birth to years ago. Everything she had done had only ever been to survive. Isabella had a conscience, but in this brutal world, humans had no chance of survival, so the only thing she could do was ensure that the children, in their short lives, could live happily. The rule of the orphanage was that the smarter the child, the later they could be shipped, at most, until the age of 12. That was why the children in Isabella's farm were exceptionally intelligent. It was perhaps the only mercy she could offer. Now, her emotions were impossibly tangled. She had long seen through their escape plan. To her, it was full of flaws. And yet, she chose to let them go. In the final moment, this elegant woman simply gathered up the rope. She was erasing the traces of her children's escape. How she wished she could leave with them, but she couldn't. A chip had been implanted inside her body. If she left, it would explode. In that moment, she felt strangely relieved. She smiled and bid her children farewell. At last, Isabella gently comforted the remaining little ones. This time, her love carried no pain. Perhaps the demons would punish her, perhaps they would kill her, but she no longer cared, because her children would live. This woman, whose life had been nothing but tragedy, finally found a fleeting moment of peace.